Hello dear students, I hope you are doing well, and in this video we are going to discuss about inverse trigonometric functions. So before that, let us put a light on the CBSE's notice that CBSE has reduced the syllabus by 30%. So basically from this chapter we are going to reduce the properties of inverse trigonometric function, that part. So our goal will be to understand the principal value branch for this chapter. Fine. There is the domain, range of inverse trigonometric functions and the principal value branch. Okay. So let us proceed. Here the title says inverse trigonometric function. So before going to that, what are functions? What are functions? In your previous chapter we have discussed that if I take a set A and a set B, if all the elements of the set A are associated with a unique element of the set B, then that is called a function. Here also from that we have, if a distinct element of the set A is connected to a distinct element of the set B, then such type of functions are called one-one function. That means here all the elements of the set A must be associated to only one element of the set B. So there can be one element remaining in the case of domain, in the codomain, so that's fine. And what is onto? So in onto, all the elements of the codomain must be connected to at least one element of the domain. So if this element is connected to more than one element, it's fine. Okay. But there cannot be any element remaining behind that is not connected to the domain. So that is all about function, one-one function and onto function. So if a function is both one-one and onto, then what? Then that type of function is called bijective function. Okay. So as our chapter deals with inverse trigonometric functions, so for that we need to understand what is the inverse of a function. So a function is said to be invertible if it is both one-one and onto. Clear? So if we want to find the inverse of the trigonometric functions, then we need to show that the trigonometric functions must be one-one, onto, and then we can say that they are bijective and hence they are invertible. Clear? Okay. So what are trigonometric functions? The first thing you have got in your class 10 as well as 11 that these are the functions sine, cos, tan, cot, sec and cosec, and their domain and ranges are what is the domain of sine? It is a set of real numbers and the range is -1 to 1. The domain of cos is real number -1 to 1. Tan r minus x such that x is equal to twice n plus 1 pi by 2, where n belongs to the set of integers. And what is the range? The range is the set of real numbers. For cot it is x such that x is equal to n pi such that n belongs to the set of integers, and the range is r. For sec, it is the same as the tan. It is x such that x is equal to twice n plus 1 pi by 2, where n belongs to the set of integers. And what is the range? It is r minus open interval -1 1. And cosec, it is same as the cot. It is x such that x is equal to n pi, n belongs to z, and the range is r minus -1 1. That is the open interval -1 1. Clear? So these are the functions that we have got in our class 11, and in today's case we want to see that whether these functions are invertible or not. So for a particular case, let us take the case of sine. Let us see what happens with it. Now, if I draw the graph of sine, here it is 0, pi by 2, pi, 3 pi by 2, 2 pi, pi by 2 is our x-axis, this is y, so it will be 1, here it will be 1, let us consider this is minus 1, so in the left hand side it will be minus pi by 2, here pi, and it goes on. Now, what is the value of sine 0? It is 0. The value of sine pi by 2, 1. Again the value of sine pi, that is 0. Sine 3 pi by 2, minus 1. Sine 2 pi, again 0. The left hand side, sine minus pi by 2 will be minus 1. And for sine minus pi, it will be 0. So if I trace the graph, it will look somewhat like this. Yeah? That means, now let us say one thing. If I consider these 2 points, suppose randomly, if I consider this point and this point, here we see for the value of pi, the value is 0. That means sine pi is 0. Also, we can see that sine of twice pi is also 0. Yeah? That means what? I can write if my function is fx is equal to sine x, then in place of x, if I replace it by pi, it will be sine of pi, that is 0, and f of twice pi, that is sine of twice pi, will also be 0. That means for two values of x, we are getting the same value of fx. So in other words, I can write for f of pi is equal to f of twice pi, pi is not equal to twice pi, isn't it? So what is this condition? From this condition we can see that the sine function is not 1, 1. Clear? Okay. So since it is not 1, 1, so there is no question of searching for inverse of the function. So let us see the onto case. Easily from the graph we can see that for onto what we need. If this is our domain, it is the range. The range is -1 to 1 and the domain is a set of real number. That means for whatever value we take from the codomain, that must be associated with at least one element of the domain. So whatever value I take from here, that is, this is our -1, this is our 1. If I take -0.7 or 0.7 or 0, so whatever value we take here, you will get a corresponding x. That means for whatever value you take here, it is from -1 to 1, 0, you will get a corresponding element in the domain. So clearly this function is onto. Okay. So this function is onto, but it is not 1, 1. So what to do? Our chapter deals with the inverse trigonometric function. So what we shall do is that we shall restrict our domain here from -pi by 2 to pi by 2. Clear? That is, now we shall operate, or we shall replace this r by -pi by 2 to pi by 2. Now this is our domain. That means the closed interval -pi by 2 to pi by 2. So our new graph will be the restricted sine function. The graph will be from here to here. Now, let me remove this part. So this is our new graph. Now, in this case, you can see that for whatever value you take for x, you will get only one y. That means, suppose if you take this function, sine of pi by 2, you will get what? 1. For sine of -pi by 2, you will get -1. You cannot take other values. And is there any such value between this interval that gives us the 1 again? Or is there any other value in this interval for which the sine function gives us -1 again? No. So clearly, we have converted this sine function to a 1, 1 function now. And since it has been converted to 1, 1 as well as onto, so it is bijective, and now we can find the inverse of sine function. So let us see. Now, so the inverse of the sine function, the graph looks like this. That means if I draw a vertical line here, sorry, a diagonal line here, that is y is equal to x, this is our line y is equal to x. And if we flip this graph with respect to the diagonal line, then we get this graph, and this is the graph of sine inverse x. Okay? So what is the domain now? See, this, you should remember that since we have restricted the thing, that means now the sine function is an invertible function, and so we have sine inverse. That means each element is taking 1x to 1y only. The sine inverse function will be defined on the domain -1 to 1 to pi by 2 to minus pi by 2 to pi by 2. Clear? Now one more question arises here. This was our previous graph. This was the previous graph. So you might ask that why we have taken the restriction over minus pi by 2 to pi by 2 only. Yes, the question is correct. Like you can take the restriction from here also, that is pi by 2 to 3 pi by 2. Even this is fine. Also you can take the restriction from 3 pi by 2 to twice pi. In all these cases, you will see that the sine function is 1 1 as well as 1 2, and hence invertible. So corresponding to every interval that we have taken, we get different branches of the sine inverse function. Okay. So the sine inverse function can be defined from the domain -1 to 1 to all of these ranges, that is minus pi by 2 to pi by 2, pi by 2 to 3 pi by 2, 3 pi by 2 to twice pi. So these are called the branches of the sine function, and the function that has been defined from -1, 1 to minus pi by 2 pi by 2 is called the principal value branch. So in this chapter we shall put our emphasis on, or we shall emphasize on this particular branch, that is the principal value branch. Okay, so since we are done with that, that is our sine inverse function is defined on the interval -1 to 1 to minus pi by 2 to pi by 2. So we can say from the definition that sine inverse of x is equal to x. For what? For all x belongs to the interval -1 1, and sine inverse of sine of x is equal to x for all x belong to minus pi by 2 to pi by 2. Clear? Also, if y is equal to sine inverse x, then we can write x is equal to sine. Huh? So one more thing not to be confused is that sine inverse is not equal to sine of whole inverse. Why? Because sine of whole inverse is what? Nothing but 1 by sine. Yeah? And after that, since we have discussed about the sine function, sine inverse function, similarly we can get all the other functions, all the inverse functions, that is cos inverse, tan inverse, cot inverse, sec inverse, and cosec inverse. And hence we get the domain and principal value branches of the inverse function as the domain of sine inverse x given by -1 1, the closed interval, and principal value is minus pi by 2 to pi by 2, that we have proved just now. Similarly, we can get for cos inverse -1 1, and the principal value branch will be 0 pi. For tan inverse, it is the set of real numbers, and the principal value branch is the open interval minus pi by 2 to pi by 2. For cot inverse, we have the set of real numbers, and the principal value branch is 0 to pi. For sec inverse, it's r minus the open interval -1 1, and the principal value branch is minus pi by 2 to pi by 2 except the point 0. And for cosec inverse x, we have the domain is the set of real numbers minus the open interval minus 1 1, and the principal value branch is the closed interval 0 to pi except the point pi by 2. So that's all about the theory of inverse trigonometric functions. So that's it. Thank you. Stay safe.